Evolve 360, a holistic approach to life, is an exploration of learning through experience to transform individually and culturally as a whole by taking a 360-degree look at our quality of life, including the limiting beliefs, worn-out paradigms, and destructive habits that have led us to where we are today, and to instead create or revolutionize a new life vision that brings greater peace, appreciation, fulfillment, clarity, happiness, and joy as we ultimately evolve. So this episode is our first episode, and we're just going to go over how we met, what we do, and why we created this show, and talk about how our reality has shattered due to COVID-19. Welcome to the Evolve 360 Shelly Shell Show with hosts
Shelly Grace
and Shelly Divine. And we're here. How you doing, here. Soul sister?
Oh my gosh, I am doing so great. I am so excited about today. This is a 14-year journey in the making.
You're so right. It's hard to believe that we've known each other for that long, and now we're connecting again, and we're putting on this podcast for all you wonderful listeners. And yes, Shelly's from Miami, and I'm all the way up here in the Boston area, actually in New Hampshire. But, we decided to start this because of what's currently happening in the world with this COVID-19 and basically how, everything's kind of come to a halt. Our reality has basically just kaboom, stopped.
Totally.
With a teeny itty bitty little virus. It's like the mustard seed effect that wave, it, goes crazy. I got to tell you, I was looking through a book from Caroline Myss, and this thing popped out. Now, I got this book. It was Defy Gravity by Caroline Myss about probably over 10 years ago. And in it, I had these notes in it, and this is like wait till you hear this. I just found it today. Patriarchal perceptions are going to get annihilated.
Oh my gosh.
In women, fallout will be a relief to men in general. A global shift will take place among countries, not by choice, by fear. I was like,
oh my gosh. Is that profound?
This was in the book.
In your notes.
Oh my God.
In your notes.
Oh my God. So for those of you who don't know, Shelly and I met at one of Caroline Myss's. Caroline Myss is a world-renowned author who came out with the book. I think it was, Heal.
She's got a multitude of books.
So she's an energy intuitive, and she came out with why people don't heal and how they can. And she worked with Norman Shealy, but whatever, it brought Shelly and I together.
Well, the book that brought us together was Sacred Contracts.
Sacred Contracts.
That's the book that I just was like on fire.
Yeah.
And why don't we share with everybody how we met? Because I think that's really important, especially during these times that our life is on pause, where opportunities and people come into your life and you never know the reason why, but then you find out later, like 14 years later, here we are, Shelly and I.
Exactly.
We're the Shellys, right? Shelly and Shell.
Shelly Shell.
Shelly Shell.
Who'd have thought?
Exactly. Who would have thought? So Caroline, to me, is one of my most renowned teachers on everything that I can think of, because she is a brilliant woman and she studied so much. And way back before I even met Shelly, I had started my path and my journey of, your life purpose. What am I here for?
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been a professional career person. I've been in the school. I was a school principal for 22 years in that corporate, go, manage people, problems, politics, that kind of a world. And I was always looking for more, the meaning, the divine, the what. So
Mm-hmm.
one day I go to dinner at a place with a bunch of people. And in that group, there's a woman. And I had never met her before. And you know how, we girls are like, oh, let's go to the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
So we're sitting at this table with a bunch of people and we start talking and she's like, oh, I need to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, okay, let's go to the bathroom. So we're there in the bathroom and she starts pouring out her soul to me, like things that you would never tell anybody, like your
The
deep
things
dark
that happen in the ladies' room.
amongst women,
Yeah.
right? And it was like a pouring of her, like her stuff. And I'm like, wow. And that happens sometimes to me, that people just like pour their soul out.
Yeah.
So in the course of that conversation, we decided to get together, and just have coffee. And during that time, she brought to me, she says, you've got to come to this retreat. You've got to come. It's Sacred Contracts, Carolyn Meese. And she went on and I'm like, oh my God, I'm there. Because I had started reading Sacred Contracts, and I'm like, what an opportunity. So long story short, this woman came into my life, poured out her soul, kind of incited this thing. I went, I signed up. Carolyn had put that Sacred Contracts class. And in fact, Shelly and I were in that last live 2-year program, which you're going to hear all about it because that's what part of this whole journey is and podcast is. So we met. I went, the woman left my life. She moved away. Never, we kept in touch, but you know how it is, like when, it's like the flame kind of just flickered and just, went out.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Carolyn Meese's and I just get goosebumps. I was there in Austin, Texas, her last live class.
Oh, we both were. How awesome was that?
I know. It was so cool. And that place was great.
Yeah.
So how did you hear about Sacred Contracts?
Well, for
last class.
me, I mean, it's been a long journey. I started out most of my family had been stricken with cancer. And when it started, it was early in my 20s. My dad, actually my grandfather when I was a teenager, but then later my dad. And during that time, to me, it appeared that medicine at that time had no solutions for cancer patients. And so we looked at alternative modalities, and it was actually really new back then. There wasn't a lot out there. An author, a physician, Bernie Siegel, came out with this book, Love, Medicine, and Miracles, and we went to a lecture that kind of started the ball rolling. And then after my dad passed, or maybe it was during the time, I can't quite remember, but I met some people that were involved with aromatherapy, and then that led to Reiki. So I took Reiki training. So that's energy laying on of hands and work. And so I did that. And then that led me to Barbara Brennan. Now, Barbara Brennan was big into energy at the time. She was a NASA
I love her book,
scientist.
Hands of Light. I know,
yeah,
right?
Hands of Light, exactly. I read that book and I couldn't get enough of it. So I went to one of her workshops. And from there, I really knew that I had a knack for conducting universal life force energy. I mean, like, I was blown away, like, by that workshop. From there, studied a little bit more in energy, but I felt like, Reiki just wasn't enough. And then came upon, somehow, I don't know, sounds true, it's an online, a lot of people have probably heard it, had some, different audio cassettes. And I think it was the first one.
Oh my God, the cassette era, I remember.
Yeah, the first one I got, I think, was like Andrew Harvey. And I never knew the connection between Carolyn and Andrew until we went to the crossings together. I didn't even know, but I had gotten some it was kind of like Rising Spirit or something, but it was all about Christ. And you know how Andrew is, he's just like so
Yes.
animated, he's so passionate. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. But I was trying to make that connection of what's going on between life and death, because when my dad died, I had this profound experience where I really felt his life force leave his body. And that wasn't the first time that happened to me. So energy was really something that I grew up with. I even can trace it back even with my grandfather. The spirits on the other side were talking to me, you know? So then happened to see Carolyn's, I think it was a Energy Anatomy audio cassette. Picked that up. I was like blown away. I'm like, oh my God, this woman is brilliant. And then it was just one thing after another, led me to Sacred Contracts. And it took years before I ended up going to her CMed school academy. It was years before I even ventured or even thought about that. I was married, you know, young kids. The time that I went to that was, I think my mom had passed away by then, and my sister was
your sister was sick when we met.
sick.
She
Yeah, she was suffering with brain
Yeah.
tumors. She had a 17-year battle with brain tumors. And so you know, I was like, what is going on? And there was like, and how can these people heal, you know, like, and what's the connection between, you know, source energy, God, whatever, you know, is out there? How does this all work? And Carolyn had answers. And the Sacred Contract thing, I always had feeling, always had this feeling. Like I can remember when, and I probably, you know, I know I irritated the woman. She came in to life, and she was abused, like profoundly abused by her parents. And I was like, it's some sort of contract you have. And this is before I even knew Carolyn. So I was like, you know, I was already saying these sorts of things before I even knew what she was doing, but she put it all together.
She did. Oh my gosh, it was great. And the same happened to me. I was more on the, and it's great because Shelly's like we're like yin and yang. Because you've always been a healer, Reiki. I've always been corporate. I've always been like shown up, the suit, you know, the very structure.
Right.
But inside, I was always seeking my truth, my purpose, my divine purpose here on earth. What am I doing to make a difference in the world? That was my mantra. And I've always been a teacher, always, you know, help people, manage people, always had a ton of stress, type A personality. And wow, this was a breath of fresh air. So we go to this gorgeous place, which I don't think exists anymore. I think it was taken over by a huge corporation like the Marriott, or I don't know.
Wow, it was so beautiful.
But it was the Crossing Spa in Austin, Texas, which I love Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
And we get there, and it's just like there was no TV in the rooms. I'm like, oh my God, there's no TV.
What are we gonna do?
Listen to the news.
What are we gonna do?
Exactly. But it was great. So what did I do at the time, which I was really connected to? I loved going to spas and getting a massage. I'm like, I'm going to the spa. So as I walk into the spa, it was beautiful, serene. I see this huge row of these rocking chairs and this gorgeous lady with a towel in her hair. And she just looks at me and smiles. And it was Shell. And we just sat down. And from that moment in 2006, we have had a connection that, and I get chills because we never like would have crossed paths. And people come into your life like that. Like the woman that came into my life to share with me Carolyn's retreat that in 1,000,010 years, I didn't even know if I could go. I had school age kids. I was in a difficult marriage at the time. I was like running this huge school. My life was in crazy mode, but you know what? I did it. And I'm so thankful to God that I did. And for 2 years, we totally unraveled and unwrapped our lives and just totally like rewired everything that we ever thought was real. And this is what this show's about, for us to share our life with you, raw, real, unplugged. And what we've learned from Carolyn and how this time is so profound for all of us, because the world, like everybody got together and just like hit a pause button. Now, how crazy is this? Yeah. It's insane, you know, and who can really do this? I mean, it has to be something greater than ourselves. And why? Because we need to just stop and we need to look at where we're at.
Mhm.
Because I don't know about you, Shell, but I was still, even though I transitioned from being a principal, you know, I had left that career and I had started what had been a side hustle that I had had for over 15 years. When I met you, I was writing my books. I had just published several books on communication. I was on Fox News being an education expert. I
Oh, I
also ran my
remember.
school.
She
Like
was
I
a
didn't have
hot
enough to
lady,
do.
hot lady.
Oh gosh. No, I was like type A on steroids, okay?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and I had my kids, and you're always juggling and feeling guilty about everything. And you know, it's like, wow, I continued on that trend even after I did my transition and I had my, you know, executive coaching program that I was helping people and, you know, sales and just presentation and communication. But I was still working on that speed. And it was like, I had to take a step back because that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
It's about just working at and being at ease with yourself. So this is what we're here to share with you today. And for, you know, as long as you guys tell us what you want to know, and we have a lot to share.
Oh my goodness, we have a ton of stuff to share. We want to cover basically all the backgrounds of life in general, all the categories that we got to deal with, from relationships to careers to finances to spiritual stuff to our values, all of it. And how do we get here? It's been a long ass journey, I'm telling you. I mean, like at the time we met, you know, I was going through I was separated, not quite divorced yet, so it was a turbulent time for me, but it was also a major growth period. And I was trying to figure out, I was a stay-at-home mom and really enjoyed that, loved that. I got involved in martial arts. And
I remember you were Miss like,
and
watch
yeah,
out.
it was like I went from healer to I can kill and maim people.
To warrior. Let's talk
I was
archetypes.
total
because
warrior.
I love archetypal language. So
Yep.
Shelley was a warrior.
Yeah, totally.
But you never think it because she's so classy and sassy and sexy and gorgeous.
Oh, we got the damsel thing going on. I think that's what attracted us together. Yes. I had the help me with men, and you were more the dame where you're like dropping the little. I remember a time. Oh my God. This is the funniest thing. I was like, damsel in action. I'm like, we were at our table having lunch and you
at
left
the Carolyn Mesa Academy,
left a camera at the table. And I'm like, what are you doing? She says, oh, don't worry about it. I need to, I'm leaving it behind for I think it was like David to come back to me because I need to talk to him and I know he'll bring it to me. And I was like, the damsel, I would have never in years. And you used that tool, I don't know how many times. But you didn't talk to him. He was busy. I was like, sure, fire away. I'll leave the camera. He'll bring it back to me. I'm like, oh my God.
It did. And I had a one-on-one conversation because it's all about connections and the power of connections. That's what I do. So we have a ton of tools to help you and just to share our life experiences and just, you know, unravel and step into a whole new way because this world is changing and it's changing rapidly.
And yes. And it's like if you do have a career right now and everything's on hold, like for me, I've been teaching a boot camp for the last 10 years outdoor. People are amazed that I do it year round up here in New England. We're outside. And I have this wonderful, faithful group of boot campers that, you know, enjoy the outsides of Boston, you know, and I've been doing that for 10 years. And now we've gone virtual. And I mean, that was a definite huge transition, but it's like, okay, how do I want to keep this going? So you got to learn how to pivot in business and, you know, keep things going, still maintain an income or, you know, being on that treadmill of like, it's the other thing of go. And I'm feeling like I was always go because I was in that survival mode from after the divorce and everything. And now I want to be in that thrive mode, but get back to my, you know, that circadian clock, my natural clock where I'm a little more relaxed. And this time during this halt, this global halt, has shut everything down. And I feel like personally that I've been able to kind of slow down and breathe again and get more normalized for me.
Right. Because
You know?
time, I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, you wake up, it's, let's say 7, and all of a sudden you blink and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you're like,
Yeah.
whoa,
Yeah.
whoa. And one thing I want to share with people is because this is a time to really tap into your creativity and do things out of the norm. You know, I have a lot of clients that I'm helping that are big time professionals, type A people,
Yeah.
and they're throwing their businesses online, and I'm helping them create their passion and monetize that passion, because that's what it's about. You know, I had to throw my entire business online.
Mm.
I'm also an adjunct professor. I teach, you know, public speaking, leadership, and communication.
Mhm.
And it's about, you know, do you want to go in the time warp that we were going, or do you want to be aligned to what you're supposed to be doing and
Mm.
be in a speed where everything happens effortlessly and things get done? Now, granted, you need, you know, you need your goals and you need to be in action, but it's
Mhm.
not like that frenzy that we were in before.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, Shell, but
It was
I
too
was
much.
on a frenzy, and I'm
Yeah.
like, you know, it's
Yeah.
not supposed to
Trying
be
to
this way.
keep
Right.
up, trying to,
Oh,
you know, keep up with the whatever's happening out there. And we really need to take a deep breath and do
mhm.
that internal instead of diagnostic kind of thing and say, okay,
Right.
what's going on here? What really am I aligned with, instead of going in all these different
Oh
directions
my gosh. Yeah.
of like just trying to keep up and maintain and comparing ourselves to what's externally outside of us. And we can't do that anymore.
No, you can't.
We can't even, like, you know, the economic competitive market, it's not going to work anymore. Nobody, you know, like even online, it's not going to work anymore. People are fed up with it. It's too much.
It's
And
exhausting.
it's
And
so
and
exhausting.
and talking about energy, I love what Carolyn used to tell us. She still tells us, because I listened to one of her conversations last night that she had put out, which was
Mhm.
brilliant. And it's about energy. And
Yeah.
I've always say time, energy, value. How much time are you putting to exert your energy to get back your value?
Yeah.
And Carolyn would always teach us that, okay, you have $100 in your bank account. It's the energy. Now, are you giving? And that's where I was at. And I'm sure, Shell, you were at too. And
Yeah.
all of you guys have been out there where you're putting out a lot more energy than what you have. It's like a bank account. If you're, you know, you're overdrawing
Depleting.
yourself,
Yeah.
you're overdrawing your body. And then that's how you get sick, exhausted. You have
Yeah.
fatigue syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's horrible. I mean, you're
Yeah.
just, and then you get into this spiraling where, like, I felt like I was in a blender, like zzz, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
push that pause button. I need to
Yeah.
breathe.
Yeah. Well,
So,
as Carolyn has said, your biography becomes your biology. And I know for me, truth be told, my biography, the last maybe 10 years, kind of developed, just not really 100% diagnosed with, but an autoimmune disorder. And,
wow.
y- and since, I mean, I've been working on it all holistically to
Uh-huh.
correct it, but part of it was like my thoughts created it,
Right.
you know, like
Totally.
everything that you
Mm-hmm.
kind of go through, your emotions, all that sort of
Right.
stuff. And now that I've kind of worked on it, but how do you go about doing that holistically? Because pill popping don't work. I've tried some of the medications that physicians will do, and it's like, it don't
Right.
work. And I know other people that have done it and it don't work, and they're seeking out all these other ways of doing things, but you have to come in line with yourself. And the more
You
I come
do.
in alignment and keep
Mm-hmm.
myself accountable and not worry about what's going on out there, just what's going on in here, and connect straight up, like Carolyn says,
Right.
connect with source, connect,
Right.
and become in alignment. And then this is what we will be, you know, how we should be proceeding
Right.
in this
Exactly.
new future that we are,
We
you
are now
know, in the
creating.
process of maybe
Right.
creating,
Co-creating with
co-creating
source energy, with each other. We're
with each
co-creating.
other. And it's
Right.
like, okay, so how are we going to go about doing that? Are we going to still go back to what's old? I don't think so. I know I'm not.
No,
I know
I
I'm not.
know. I'm not either, but you have to have hard conversations with yourself,
Yes.
because a lot of times we tend to go with the tribe, you know, what
Huh?
everybody's doing. or you tend to have feelings of guilt because of your cultural background. And this is the way it should be because this is the way it was.
Yeah.
Or you tend to say to yourself, oh my gosh, you know, you're in fear. So you have to have those hard conversations with yourself, and you have to see what no longer serves you in your life and cut it out. I did a huge purging of my life.
Yeah.
Part of it was the whole dynamic of my life just like totally tore down in 2013. I went through a horrible divorce, which I was married to a man in a very difficult marriage. And my mom died. So that was my, like the whole, like my whole world just like crashed.
Yeah.
But I was able to come out of that in a new way with new eyes, looking at the world in a different, with a different perspective.
It's all about perspective and how we look at things and what beliefs we hold on to.
Yes.
Our beliefs are, we choose our beliefs. We choose them. So we got to choose them wisely.
And that's where the truth comes in. Maybe a belief that you had 10 years ago is not a belief that is serving you today.
Exactly.
And, you know, maybe some of those friends that you had, I know I've had friends that I love and I still love them, but 10 years ago, they were like really in my life. But because of circumstances, they are no longer here. And yes, you know, you send them love and you're like, I wish them well, but I can't connect with those people because it's not where we're there. You know, we're not aligned anymore. And it hurts you energetically when you do something that you're not aligned with. And you need to feel it in your body. I've always been very sensitive where I've always been able to kind of feel with my intuition. And that's where your intuition plays in. And I've been able to, and it's funny, I'm going to tell you a quick story about what happened to me yesterday because I'm on this path, right? And I really don't want to go back. So I'm being sucked in, you know, like that, you know, just when you thought you were out, you're sucked
I thought I was out, now I'm getting sucked back in.
Sucked back in. So
Scarface.
And it's great. Exactly. I'm very thankful to the universe that people come into my life. I was recruited by a headhunter and I did an interview on Zoom to go and join a big corporation. And it was great. I mean, they want me. It was terrific. But guess what happened? Guess what happened after that? I was drained, exhausted. I had no energy. And I was like, you know, do you get seduced by the dark, you know, by things that you don't want to do? Yeah, which I have a friend of mine that calls it like the Darth Vader seduced by the dark forces.
Yeah.
Or do you stay in your alignment and you proceed with faith and trust in doing what you know you're supposed to do?
Well, you got to know what's influencing you to do that. Is it really in alignment, or is it your ego that's talking and saying, "Ooh, I'll get all these accolades if I do this, and I'm going to look really good," you know, to everybody else that's out there because I got this and that and the other thing, and I'm better than you, or whatever it is, you know, like,
well,
it's not even that, too. But it's just,
you know, you get a paycheck, security, it's the old foundations of thinking.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. It encompasses a lot. And I'm, you know, from that security standpoint, I love security, especially because when my parents came to this country, we're refugees. I'm a Cuban refugee. Yeah, so, you know, right. So you always have that underlying like security, you know, like security. So what happened was I've since remarried everybody and I'm super happy. But one thing I'm going to tell you, it's all about communication. So I sat with my husband and I said, you know, let's talk about this. Because we talk about, like, he's like, I've never met anybody that talks more. And he's right. But to me, I've
you're
been
Cuban. You are going to talk a lot, right?
Exactly. But to me, I've been in marriages that, you know, you're just like, I'm such a good girl. And that's not me, you know? So it's like, look, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to talk to you. And if you can't listen to me, then you're not in my life. So I sat down with him and I said, I don't think this is going to serve me because, I mean, I was just exhausted on my butt. And I'm thinking, oh my God, imagine if I proceed, energetically, it's not where I need to be. And then you're like, your body's telling you, no, this is not good for you. This is not good for you. But you have to listen to your body. You have to listen to your intuition. And I never close my doors. I'm going to definitely say, hey, you know, love to reconnect in maybe, you know, 6 months, but now is not the time. And I was very straightforward. You know, we're launching this podcast. I'm writing another book. You know, I have clients that I'm working with. I'm doing virtual public speaking and I'm teaching at the university. I'm an adjunct professor. So that fuels my life. It feeds my soul. I love this. I love this. And I also have enough time to work on myself and study more of Carolyn's work, because she's, to me, one of like my dearest, most trusted teachers.
Yeah.
So, and you've got to have time for yourself, because in the past I've shut that door, or you sleep less. And then what happens? You show up exhausted. So this is a story that I wanted to share with everybody, because especially you, Shel, because we've been talking about this.
Yeah.
And it's not about doing more. It's just doing what serves you.
Right.
Serves you.
Yes. And then serving, hopefully, humanity.
Of course.
Once the cup is full, then it's overflowing. So it's like, hopefully we can do that for you listeners, and we provide something here that is useful to you, and you feel like, oh wow, that makes sense, and that feels good, and that brings your emotional level from, oh no, fear, fight or flight, or guilt, or all the shadowy sort of emotions, depression, which I'm sure is going on now during this time.
A lot of depression.
Yeah. And instead bringing in more fulfillment, clarity. Clarity is huge right now. Everything's so fuzzy and confusing, and happiness and joy. And knowing that some of the simple things are more important than, right now during this time, you get to, some of us hopefully get to spend time with family a little bit more than maybe we used to, because we're not going to the office, or we're not, I don't know, there's,
you're not commuting.
They're not.
I live in Miami. Oh my gosh, my commute used to be like an hour and a half, and that's some of you guys commute for a couple of hours.
Yeah, I was big on the commute, boy.
I know, right?
Mornings going from New Hampshire to Boston, sometimes twice a day. It was brutal, but I'm glad I'm not doing it. I do miss my boot campers and stuff, and seeing them. I
know, we miss that connection, right?
Yeah, seeing them physically, but on the other side of it, I'm liking. I feel way better. I'm rested. And I feel like, I can just putter around here and take care of things here. And, I'm enjoying actually this time, I
am too. And I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for this time, because it's allowed me to connect on a deeper level with myself, because to me, that's so important, and been able to just take time and walk in my neighborhood and just see the beautiful greenery that we have, and just grateful for a sunset every morning that comes out.
It's really important to be grateful and find the things, right?
Totally.
To find the things right now to be grateful for. When we look at the hospitals, and we're in this kind of state of unknown, and there's no end in sight. Up here, I don't know what it's like down in Florida, but like up here, some of the governors are like, oh, well, we'll have this plan to do that plan, and then we'll have this phase to handle that plan, and phase 3 will be, based on phase 4, and then we'll have another plan for phase 2, and that's basically how they're talking. And nobody, we think that we're gonna, things are gonna open up, but nobody knows how that's gonna be, say on the
there's
18th.
A lot of uncertainty.
So there's a lot of tremendous uncertainty at all levels.
Totally. Yes.
And how we're gonna come out of this, but we can't go back to the way things were, globally, never mind individually, but even globally, the way the governments worked, the way we work too in our households, in our home life, it has to change. And in this period of time,
and it starts with you. It starts with us at home.
Yes. Right. And if we're co-creating what's happening out there externally, we have to do, like I said earlier, is that inventory of what's going on inside. And we've been given this wonderful opportunity to take that time and do it. For people that don't meditate, you can look, or quieting yourself, take a nap. You can meditate during a nap. You'll get a dream,
exactly. Just sit for 10 minutes and clear your mind.
Quiet yourself.
Because then things will come up.
Yeah.
that maybe you need to deal with. But sometimes we just are going so fast and are doing and multitasking.
Yeah.
Multitasking doesn't work anymore. I was the queen of multitasking. I mean, I
Yeah.
was on 3 different boards, ran a huge school,
Wow.
had my kids.
Yeah.
My kids were involved in activities, had them, you know,
Yeah.
it was just crazy.
Yeah.
And it just, you didn't have, I never had really time unless I structured it to just sit quietly for 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And when I did have that time, wow, so much came up that I realized that I had to deal with
Yeah.
because it wasn't serving me anymore. So Shell, you bring up a great point, because we need to sit and just take time. If you
Still.
meditate or you
Yeah.
pray,
Slow it down.
you know, work in your garden,
Yes.
you know.
Get your hands in the dirt.
Yeah.
My kind of, you know, get dirty. Life's
Yeah.
messy, baby. You got to get a little dirty, but you got to
Oh,
get dirty in the moment, not like worrying about what's in the
Yeah.
future.
And
You
let
know,
it come
like,
up and not be in fear, be in
yeah,
trust that
yes,
everything is happening the way, you know, it, and we can change things. We just need to shift our mind in a different way. We've both gone through huge challenges in our lives with, you know, in
mhm,
many situations. And, you know, we're part of this pandemic with the world right now
yeah,
too. And it's how you look at it. From what perspective are you going to look at it? Are you going to look at it as, you know, new opportunities are going to come? And I know a lot of people are suffering greatly. A lot of people don't have work.
yeah,
A lot of people, but get with others, you know, come together, see what you can plan and do that's going to help you as you move forward. You know, you're not alone in this. There's so many people out there that are throwing assistance. You know,
yes,
they're
absolutely,
helping others.
yeah,
And we wanted to start this podcast now because we want to help you on your life journey and
yeah,
just share and, you know, have conversations with us that, you know, deal with the real and the raw of life, because life is messy, like Shelley said, and
yeah,
life is not perfect, and life doesn't always happen out the way we plan it.
yeah,
Things come in, and then we're you know, we're in a like tailspin, and you know, you need to grab your bearings, you need to ground yourself and just
yeah.
take
We
a
have to
step
develop a
back.
new foundation, you know,
Totally new
a new
foundation.
foundation that
Totally.
is grounding. Like when we talk energy work, and you know, to get not woo woo, you know, like I mean, you know, like I mean, you mentioned this to some people. I mean, it's more acceptable now than it was maybe 10 years ago, but or
Right.
even 20 years ago. But now it's like, okay, to avoid the woo woo, and bring in energy through your body, like, and when I talk energy, I'm talking vibrations, positive vibrations, and being in tune with what works for you, and
Right.
and grounding it and making it real, because this is how we're going to start to create a new
Right.
paradigm, a new reality. What's going to happen, say, from, you know, us individually, to extend out to our family, to our neighborhoods, to our governments, to where we work, to a
Hmm.
global, you know, to other countries, how we interact. And this starts with us as individuals. It's this whole mustard seed thing, you know, like
Yes, it
at the,
does.
you know, we have this little teeny atomic bomb. It's biological, little teeny one that just went boom. And I mean, it stopped the world.
Right.
It's nuts. And who would think that something like that could happen? Stop everything, just shut everything down,
It
basically.
happens. But
And
in sharing what you're saying, like, you have to be creative. Like, I'm
yeah,
working with some of my clients that were like on the global, and now we're saying, okay, let's stop, let's take a piece of that, what you're doing, and
yeah,
let's start, let's plant that seed and start your business with that seed. And
yeah,
it's flourishing. You know,
yeah,
bridal stores. I know of a bridal store, a friend of mine owns it.
yeah.
Immediately overnight, she's like, I've got women that sew, people aren't going to buy dresses, I'm
Wow.
doing masks. She put everybody to work, and she
Yeah.
has a thriving mask business.
Wow.
So it's just, what's going to serve us now moving forward, and what
Mm,
business do you have that maybe you need to just take a section of that
mm,
and recalibrate it, repackage it to serve you in the now and expand it for the future.
Yeah.
And these are things that you need to think about. We
Or
can't
if
just stay at
you,
home and say,
or if you've
woe
been
is me.
working,
Right.
if you've been working
Right.
for a company and you don't have that job anymore, you
Right.
know, what have you put on a back burner that you've always wanted to do
Right.
but were afraid to? And maybe, I mean, you could start that now. And
Totally.
you know, there's such,
Totally.
yeah, I mean, we live in an amazing time when you think about it. I mean, like, who would have thought? Like, I mean, back in the day, say my boot camp, for example, you know, I can't go teach at a gym right now. I can't teach outside, blah, blah, blah. You know, like, can't do
Right.
that. But I could get on Zoom and host a class there and still provide a service that I can get paid for.
Mhm.
And I mean, who would have
That's right.
thought that that would be possible, and that we can still communicate and see each other by virtual, you know,
Connections. I love
connections,
virtual
that we
connections.
can.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the ideal. I'd rather see people
Right.
physically, of course, but I mean, can you imagine if we were stuck with the rotary phone?
And
You know?
no, it's true. And
I'm
the
like,
same,
they talk about
the
going
rotary
insane,
phone,
you know?
one ringy dingy.
Yeah, one ringy dingy.
But it's true. And the same with professionals out there. I've got friends that have called me because when I wrote my books and was published by Wiley,
Yeah.
it was a daunting process. Hey, you can throw up an ebook overnight if you have things that you can share with others.
Yeah.
Have them download it for 99 cents, $1.99. We
Yeah.
are living in a world. I mean, I've got friends all over the world. We are totally connected with worldwide access.
Absolutely.
And there you go. You start making money overnight
Yeah.
by sharing your knowledge, what you know, what you want to help other people do.
Yeah.
Grow an orchid.
Yeah.
I'm not good at that. I'd buy the
Yeah.
book immediately.
Orchids, all they need is an ice cube once a week, apparently. I have a
didn't
few
know that.
orchids in my window. Like
Maybe
they're
you should
really
write a
easy.
book.
I'm not gonna go that far.
Oh my gosh. So, you know, this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
This is
So
what
we're living at a time of unprecedented, you know, happenings,
right.
things that some of us have never seen before in our lifetime. It's reality being shattered, but what reality are we going to create moving forward? And
Right.
that's what we want to talk about, and how to go about doing that in this show.
With
And
divine grace.
with,
And
yes. Yes.
and we've always talked about divine grace, and it's about divine grace, and you guys are going to figure
Yeah.
it out. It's
Yeah.
about divine grace.
Yeah.
Because that has a lot of meaning, bringing in that divine grace. Yeah.
Bringing in spirit and not creating just with the ego. It's
No.
co-creation isn't, you know, like creating, because I'm me and I'm great and whatever. Co-creation is creating with source energy, or
And
whatever,
we all,
God,
right.
you know, whatever you're, you know, whatever you want to call divine intelligence. It's creating with grace, and that grace comes through you
It does.
energetically. It's a vibration, it's a frequency that you want to stay on whatever your radio station is,
Right.
and keep
Exactly.
it aligned with
and
that.
keep it going up. Keep it going
Yeah.
up. You don't want to
Yeah.
go down.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's so true. And we just wanted to share with all of you what this is all about. We are co-creating,
Mm-hmm.
and we just want to make the world a better place, because all of you have your own special gifts, talents, and abilities. And some of you know that, and some of you need to have somebody, you know, hey, remind you of them. And this is what the show's about, to get you to think. Life is raw and real.
Yeah.
And just realize that our world is shattered. And we're all also going to talk about, you know, all the archetypes that we've learned, and the language of symbols, which is so profound, because a lot of times we need to step back and look at our life as if we were watching a movie.
Yeah.
Because when we do that, it
Yeah.
gives us a different perspective.
Sure. And it'll help
And
us navigate through our
totally.
lives because you'll be
Totally.
able, you get a heads up. You get a heads up of,
You
it's like being
do.
an athlete. It's like being in the zone, and you get a little bit of a heads up, and you can kind of, oh wow, I can dodge this because I knew it was coming already.
Exactly.
I can get around here because I knew that was coming. And how did I know that was coming? Intuitively. I can relax.
And I love what Carolyn used to teach us when we were in the classroom. She would say, it's like a weather report. You take your umbrella in your purse and you use it if you need it. And, you know, Lord knows I live in Miami, so it's always like showers and raining. And, you know, it's like I have long hair, so it's a pain having to dry it every day. So it's like, yes, I want my umbrella with me because if I need it, I use it. And if not, you know, it's always about being aware and being prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's about. You're aware and you're prepared.
Mm-hmm. So some upcoming shows that we have planned. One is, you know, Life on Pause. This will be the next show. Embracing the new normal, and you know how we're going to go about that. So we're going to talk about that in our next show, and we hope that you will join us. And we have a bunch of other shows planned out that I think you'll be very interested in, that will relate to your current situation and life, or quality of life. And I'll look forward to seeing Shelley, you know, all the way from Miami.
And you from Miss Boston.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen each other in a while, so it's going to be nice when we get together. But we have a lot of fun things planned. We also are going to be having some really cool guest speakers on that are going to share with you some other perspectives on life, love, relationships, just a lot of really great things. So I hope you continue to join us.
And I do too. So if you enjoyed the episode, please leave a review, because it, you know, helps people find the show. And please, on your review, you could list how we might have inspired or motivated you, because other people will read it and it may motivate them. And never miss an episode of Evolve 360 by subscribing or downloading on iTunes. And if you want to watch, we are going to be posting on YouTube as well. But if you can't find any of those, you can go to facebook.com/Evolve360Life. You can find us there. You'll find episodes posted there. This is Shelley Shell with Life Unplugged, Raw and Real. Until next time.
And Shelley Grace, Life Unplugged, Raw and Real. So
we'll
see you next time.
Soon.
Bye.